China's sweeping ban on NVIDIA's AI chips. A $50 billion market evaporating overnight into a geopolitical storm. Tariffs from the US trade war slashed shares by 13% in a single quarter. Whispers of eroding margins, supply chain chaos, and rivals like Huawei surging with homegrown silicon. The titan of AI, once untouchable at $3 trillion, now teeters on the brink of downfall. Is this the end of NVIDIA's empire? It all started in 1993. The tech world has a very clear hierarchy. Intel makes CPUs, which were called the brains of computers, and they're worth billions. Microsoft makes Windows, which were the software everyone uses. And even they're worth billions. In fact, Silicon Valley has a formula which says faster processors, better software, and dominate the market. So, everyone is trying to be the next Intel or Microsoft. Meanwhile, 3 engineers are sitting in that Denny's booth, and they're talking about something completely different. Meet Jensen Huang, a 30-year-old chip designer who worked at AMD and LSI Logic recently. Along with him, Chris Malachowski, a Sun Microsystems veteran. And with him, Curtis Priem. He is also a chip architect from Sun Microsystems. They're all looking at the primitive 3D graphics on early computers, and they see something nobody else does. They see a gap, a massive gap between what computers can calculate and what they can create. CPUs are designed for sequential tasks. Do this, then this, and then this. Simply one thing at a time, very fast. But graphics need millions of pixels rendered simultaneously. Light bouncing off surfaces, shadows, reflections, textures. That all couldn't be sequential. Therefore, it needed something called parallel processing. So you would need a different kind of processor. Not a central processing unit, but instead a graphics processing unit, or a GPU. Now the problem is, in 1993, that category didn't exist. The word GPU hasn't been invented yet. There's no market, no game developers are asking for it, and therefore no consumers are demanding it. But Huang sees the future, where simulation becomes more important than reality itself, and whoever builds that engine first for the world will own the future. They name the company NVIDIA. It's a wordplay on NVIDIA, the Latin word meaning envy. Maybe because they want every competitor to envy what they build. But back to the story in 1993. They invested $40,000. They rent a small office, and they start build a chip that the world doesn't know it needs yet. After working for 2 years, in 1995, NVIDIA released their first product, the NV1. They've bet everything on a rendering technique called quadratic surfaces. They are curved shapes that can create smooth and organic forms, which were mathematically elegant, technically sophisticated, and a complete disaster. Because while NVIDIA was building their own chip, Microsoft had launched something called DirectX, and it became a standard for 3D graphics that every game developer would love to use. One thing we should understand is that DirectX uses triangles, not curves, but triangles, due to which every other graphics company is trained to model using triangles. Whereas NVIDIA is the only one using quadratic surfaces, and therefore, game developers started hating it. NV1 performs terribly and eventually flops. Retailers are returning their inventory, and the company was left bleeding in cash. By early 1996, NVIDIA had 6 months of runway left. 6 months before the money runs out and they're done. Instead of panicking, or rather pivot to something safer, Jensen Huang had strong affirmation towards its vision. He does something borderline insane. He goes to SEGA, yes, the Sonic company. He pitched them a deal: fund our next chip and we will build your arcade hardware. The deal was accepted, but there is a brutal catch. NVIDIA has to deliver a fully functional chip in 6 months, the same 6 months they have left before they die anyway. The team works around the clock. No weekends, no holidays. Every decision is life or death. This time, they abandoned their framework of quadratic surfaces and moved onto the triangles. They aligned themselves with the Microsoft's DirectX standard and called it the NV3, which is codenamed to RIVA 128. It's their last bullet. September 1997, RIVA 118 launches. and it exploded the competition right after the launch. The chip is fast, really fast. It renders graphics at speeds that make competitors look obsolete. Gamers go absolutely crazy for it. Reviews are glowing, sales are exploding. And within 12 months, NVIDIA goes from 6 months left in cash to live to a $100 million company. Everyone is celebrating this achievement, except Jensen, because he has just realized something which is much bigger than just video games. If you look closely, GPUs aren't just graphics processors. They can become parallel computation engines. A CPU might have just 4 or 8 cores doing tasks sequentially, but a GPU has thousands of tiny cores working simultaneously. And do you know what else needs massive parallel processing? Well, you will definitely get to it in a couple of minutes. Let's move on. In 1999, NVIDIA releases the GeForce 256, the world's first chip to be officially called a GPU. They literally invented the term, a new category in itself. The same year, the company goes public, trading on NASDAQ. NVIDIA stocks breaks the sky. And by the early 2000s, NVIDIA is the undisputed king of gaming graphics. But Jensen keeps pushing engineers towards something else. Something which investors think it's a distraction. Something which gamers don't care about. In 2006, NVIDIA released CUDA, short for Compute Unified Device Architecture. It's a software platform that lets scientists and researchers use GPUs for scientific computation rather than just 3D graphics. Wall Street analysts are confused. Why are you wasting resources on this? Gamers don't need CUDA. Focus on your business. But Huang ignores them politely. He knows that computation is about to become the most valuable commodity in the world, and he wanted to own that. The scientists became the first early adopters of CUDA technology. Stanford researchers use CUDA to accelerate genetic sequencing. MIT uses it for physics simulations. National labs use it for nuclear modeling. Suddenly, tasks that took weeks on CPUs take just hours on GPUs. In the same year, a small community of researchers who never gave up on AI started using NVIDIA GPUs. Because NVIDIA GPUs are the only thing fast enough. Huang hears about this. Most CEOs would ignore it. It's a tiny niche market, maybe a few $1 million in sales. Huang does the opposite. He starts going to AI conferences. He meets with researchers personally. He asks them what they need. And then 2012 happened. AlexNet just won. It obliterates the competition. The entire field of AI realizes in one moment, deep learning works. And it only works because of GPUs, specifically NVIDIA GPUs, because of its revolutionary framework CUDA. Suddenly, every AI lab on Earth needs NVIDIA chips. Google, Facebook, Microsoft, Baidu. This time they're not building games, they're building digital brains. And every single one runs on NVIDIA hardware. Fast forward to 2022. OpenAI releases ChatGPT. Trained on thousands of NVIDIA GPUs. ChatGPT became the fastest growing app in human history. It onboarded 100 million users within 2 months, which made everyone understand. The AI revolution isn't coming tomorrow, but it came yesterday. Every AI, every chatbot, every image generator, every voice assistant you use is running on NVIDIA. These chips cost $30,000 each. Companies buy them by the tens of thousands. By mid-2024, NVIDIA hits $3 trillion in market capital. Looking to which Intel, AMD, Google, even Amazon tried to compete with NVIDIA in this space. But none of them made a dent, because NVIDIA's moat is hidden in its CUDA framework. This, my friends, is what a 30-year bet looks like when it pays off. And now, as history folds back on itself, NVIDIA faces a new kind of storm. Tariffs, trade restrictions, and China's sweeping ban on its AI chips. But if their story has taught us anything, that adversity has always been the spark of reinvention. It the blueprint revealing how they conquer this storm too. Because true value isn't in the fall, it's in the comeback that redefines an industry. But here is the part that almost nobody talks about. The part that makes this story truly extraordinary. NVIDIA didn't succeed because they were the smartest or the fastest. They succeeded because they were patient. Strategically, impossibly patient. Because think about the timeline. NVIDIA released CUDA in 2006. The AlexNet moment, the moment everyone realized AI needed GPUs, happened in 2012. That's 6 years of investment in a market that barely existed. 6 years of Wall Street analysts asking, why are you wasting money on this? 6 years of shareholders questioning their strategy. Most companies can't wait 6 quarters for a return on investment, let alone 6 years. But Huang wasn't built for 6 years. He was built for 30 or even longer. He understood something that most business leaders miss in today's era. The biggest opportunities don't come from serving today's customers. They come from building infrastructure for tomorrow's customers. The customers who don't even exist yet. So, as a leader, what are the real lessons you can actually apply from NVIDIA's story? Lesson 1. Timing beats perfection. Google wasn't the first search engine. Facebook wasn't the first social network. Being first is overrated. Being right when it matters, that's everything. You can be wrong about details and right about direction. NVIDIA was wrong about quadratic surfaces, but right about the vision of parallel processing. And that was enough. Lesson 2. Create your own category. In 1999, NVIDIA didn't just release a chip. They invented the term GPU and declared it a new category. If you compete in existing categories, you fight for scraps. When you name the category, you own the category, you define the rules. Even when competitors enter, they're always playing catch-up to your definition of what the category means. Lesson 3. Survive long enough to be proven right. This is the hardest lesson. NVIDIA's story isn't just about being right, it is about surviving long enough for being right to matter. The SEGA deal was survival, not a strategy. Switching to triangles, it was pragmatism, not a vision. Funding CUDA for 6 years with no return. It again was faith, not an analysis. The difference between visionary genius and reckless idiot is just survival, lasting long enough for the world to woe. And now I want to hear from you. Do you think NVIDIA's storm is just a temporary setback for their next triumph? Or is this the beginning of the end for a trillion-dollar empire? And by the way, they're one company that holds the largest institutional position in NVIDIA, and you've probably never even heard of it. Make sure to check that video on the right. Every frame you see is shaped by our team of passionate artists and storytellers, working to turn business into cinematic storytelling. If this added value to your day, hit that subscribe button. It simply tells YouTube that this work matters and helps us bring you even bigger stories. This is Fortune Fold. See ya in the next one.